I'm Grace. I am a game designer, solo game developer. I make 3D games, mostly environmental exploration games, and little fun things for a good time. Some of the projects that I've worked on have been the Fish Market and Alien Casino, which were both exploration games that I made by myself, where the player just walks around. There's no other interaction other than seeing what I've made. The Fish Market was my first 3D game, and it's a market with fish in it, and the fish are selling things. And Alien Casino is a casino made by aliens from memory, and they're both wonderful games. The Fish Market has a lot of puns, which is probably what it's most known for, its puns. It was interesting because I actually made the puns last minute when I realised that I hadn't done any of the signs for all the breeds. So they are pretty bad puns, which I think adds to the appeal. Snail Wisdom Simulator is the game here at Contours. It's a one-button game where you press space and a little snail gives you answers to your questions. You have to ask out loud to the snail, otherwise it can't hear you, and it responds only in emojis. It was not a very well thought out idea. I just wanted to make a game about a snail and a magic 8-ball. I wanted to make a game about both of those things, and they combined into Snail Wisdom Simulator 2017. Snail Wisdom Simulator was made very quickly. It was a prototype game that I made for a university project. It took maybe an hour to get all the mechanics together. Mechanics as in the one button that you press. It was originally very quick, and I submitted it for an assignment, and the one that's at Contours now is a reskinned version. I redid the graphics to make it suit my aesthetic better. It was made in Game Maker, and the 3D graphics are just screenshots of things that I made in Maya. Yeah, so the reception for Snail Wisdom Simulator 2017 was mixed. It was described as a game that has no player input. The player has no effect on the game, but I don't really think that matters all that much. I like the game how it is, and people seem to enjoy it anyway. I announced the game 1 hour before I released it. So its reach was not massive, but I think it's a very nice little game. I think that the games that I'm making, including Snail Wisdom Simulator 2017, are often seen as not enough for players. For people that are used to heavy mechanics and heavy interaction, my games may not be for them, but I'm not making them for people that want those sort of experiences. I'm making them for people like myself who never really grew up with many games or have much game knowledge, and want to experience something enjoyable without being distracted by being distracted by having to do a bunch of stuff, basically. It's important to have varied games because it's quite selfish, but I want to make games that I want to play, and there are a billion games out there, and I think there's a market that hasn't been seen before, which I'm trying to make my own little market. And even if the market is just me, that's okay, because then I have something to play that I want to play. So my current challenge with making games is I have very limited knowledge of programming, and I'm trying my best to create games within that limitation, so I can get people to program for me. But often have made games with other people, with my art and direction and with their mechanics knowledge, and they never really feel like the games that I want to make because they're often they become too strategy focused or too mechanics focused, and it takes it away from me a bit because I want to enjoy these games without all that sort of stuff. And that's not to say that these like mechanics and strategy games are any less important, but for me personally, I want to make low interaction games. I also have, it can be challenging as well, because I am a student and because I'm making games for a course that need to be marked and have to fit a criteria. Often they don't fit that criteria, so even if I like the game and I see it as a game, a sheet of paper may not. So it can be challenging to find a balance between what's markable and what I like and what stays true to what I want to make. So I feel like my style and aesthetic sort of showed up by accident. The first time I 3D modeled, I made a fish, and it was a pretty dodgy fish, but I thought it was so funny and I laughed a lot at the fish. And then I decided that I was going to model like that from now on. And I do try to challenge myself to create things that are more, I guess, pleasing or like pretty. But the games that I make that other people like most are the ones that they also find funny, and those are the ones that I enjoy making more because I can sort of rapidly produce these 3D models that are they're sort of dodgy, but they have lots of character and they make me smile. With both of my games, both the Alien Casino and the Fish Market, I laughed the whole way making them because they're really amusing visually. I've always liked frogs. I feel like Melbourne especially has a very distinct lack of frogs. I come from Darwin and there's frogs all the time and they're really good and slimy. So I've been putting a lot of frogs in my games to make up for the lack of frogs in Melbourne. In terms of lizards, I enjoy lizards so much. Even though one bit me one time, I forgive it. I think they're very scaly and funny, and I would like a pet Komodo dragon. So I haven't been putting that many lizards in my games so far, but I feel like that's my new direction because there's a lot of frogs now. People are making a lot of frog games, but not many lizard games, so I should shift my focus to lizards. It's important to me to have fun making the games that I make, because a lot of people like to make very serious games that are personal to them, and mine are personal to me, but as someone with anxiety that has anxiety about a lot of things, making something that is enjoyable from start to finish means that not only am I learning, I feel fulfilled the whole time. I've started making games that I'm not passionate about and they've failed pretty quickly, or I've started making them and not had fun, and that enthusiasm goes immediately. Some people, because I am making games with very little programming, it feels like a big fun art project most of the time. I don't think I would be making games if they caused me stress or anxiety, because it's something that I try to avoid in my life. When I made both of my games, well, the first game especially, Fish Market especially, I wasn't considering gallery spaces when I made it because it was a project. It was a project that when I released I didn't think would get much attention. I just sort of put it out there because I liked it and I wanted people to play it, and it turns out lots of people did play it. So it got more attention than I anticipated. And I guess with Alien Casino, again, I still wasn't considering gallery spaces because I sort of start games without the assumption that they will get any attention, because I'm making them for myself and not necessarily for a space or for other people, which I think it's good for me because at any point if I start making games that I'm catering to other people, I might lose touch of what works. And I think part of why my games are successful, or why people like them, is because I'm not catering to anybody else, I'm only catering to myself. I guess because my games are free, I don't have the pressure to conform to any sort of standards of how people make games and what a game is, I guess. Whereas commercial games and like industry-based games do have that pressure of first money and people enjoying the game, because that's what they rely on. I'm sort of lucky to be in a position to make my own games, because I don't have pressure other than the pressure that I give myself. And I don't think necessarily my games are more or less valuable, but to a wider audience, but they're more valuable to me because nobody else is really making those sort of games. And if I keep making these games and people keep playing them, it's more likely that other people will be influenced to make these sort of games, which is what I want. I want there to be so many games that are like mine that I never run out and I can play them all the time. Yeah, so it's important to me that I'm making stuff that doesn't fit within the mainstream, because the mainstream game development is great, but it doesn't fit my personal preferences in terms of what I want to play. In terms of what I want to develop, I'm happy. I am happy to work in an industry. But yeah, I like playing my own games, and I want other people to make games like mine. I'd like to see less violence in games, and less games that are I want to see more nice games. Games that are wholesome and family friendly, just like mine. And games that are a little bit weird, a little bit strange. I don't have a laptop. I don't have a computer at home, and I don't live close to the city. So for all my games, for CASENO and Snail and Fish Market, I've had to travel to the city every day to work on those, which is a challenge because I think a lot of people have the luxury to be able to work at home, but since I don't have that sort of technology, it's been rough. But I'm gonna get a laptop soon, so more games will be coming.